Hey, Paul, can you hear me okay?
Yes, Scott, I can. Whew. I fed the dog and lit the fire. And I forgot to reset my computer.
All right, is that okay?
Yep. You're in black and white. You're looking very 1920s.
Yeah, it's my new thing. I kind of like the style. I mean, watching some old 1930s movies lately, Metropolis and black and white.
You're The Big Sleep and the Maltese Falcon.
Yeah, so I went and bought a new PC camera, and then ended up using black and white anyway.
It's got a real. Oh, you could dress up as Dracula or Bela Lugosi.
Bela Lugosi, yeah. So I got the Quacker up there. Yeah, Quacker. I had a good run on that Symposium prizes. I ended up getting 3 prizes. Or 2. No, I think it was pretty sure it was 3. I haven't had time to get stuck into them yet and have a look and play around with the software that I got. It's on my to-do list.
Yeah, John walked away with 3.
Yeah, a lot of prizes this year. It's been good.
Although there were 30 of the Mitov runtime thing, we could probably cap that at 2 times through, where everybody would have been fine.
The more the better. Is there a lot of background coming through on my mic? Like background noises?
Nope, not at all.
Good. Well, good idea sending out the SMS reminders. I had a SMS program on my phone, so I could just like broadcast to everyone in one hit. There's plenty of those available. I think you had to pay for it, but it was very cheap, like a few cents or something like that.
Was that straight from your phone or through one of those? There used to be a provider, you could internet to someone and send SMSs.
Yeah. So this one was install an app on the phone, and then you send the SMS from the app.
But via your phone, right?
Yeah. I think it's like called SMS Magic or something like that.
Hey, Bob.
G'day.
Hey, Bob.
How you going?
And Lex. Hello, Lex. Been reading up on your certificate posts the last couple of days. Thanks for the feedback on that. Because I'm going to be ducking in and out at all times. I got a family over here having a family dinner, so one of the grandkids is here as well. I'll be ducking in and out.
We should do the. Oh, here's Geoff. Incoming. We should do the co-host thing.
Oh yeah, let me do that. Okay, give me a second.
But
I mean, okay, you are now co-host.
Thank you. I might hand off to someone else. Potentially, I'll see, because we had this big rainstorm getting towards a week ago now. Happened also in 2020. Next to us, there's what used to be one house. What used to be one house, with heaps of space around, then became knocked down in 9 units. And oh no, Lex, no. 4 of these units are we're opposite the railway line. 4 of these units face the road. There's like 1 meter of front yard, and it's a 1 meter drop from the road line. Hey Frank, hey Geoff, and so yeah, back in 2020, the first time in 20 years that we had this big rain, And all this water just basically made swimming pools out of the front of these houses, and all the water went all the way through them. They're like, rental units. And it kind of did it half as much about a week ago or something or other, because they're working on the railway line to Byford, and it just so happens that right opposite those units is an enormous concrete pad which absorbs no water whatsoever, and they ended up in the drink again. Why did I bring this up? Because I think it's got into the maybe the underground telephone cables, because our internet's been blinking on and off erratically for a few days. In fact, I might make sure I connect by my phone right now. How's everybody? How you doing, Frank?
Slowly, yeah.
Good enough?
Right here, just.
Were you saying before, Bob? How you doing? Okay.
Yep.
Anything much happening?
No. We just did 4 this week. We got NBN by NBN. We're connected to the not to the house now.
Oh, what'd you have before?
To the node down the street.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, ours is to the street, but the street connection is like 20 meters from our front doorstep, so works out not too bad.
Yeah, ours was about a quarter of a mile away before.
As it, like, do you have the have you noticed a speed increase yet, or it doesn't take place yet?
I haven't noticed anything yet. I think we've got to get another modem.
Okay.
Yeah. From what I understand.
Well, we had to replace our router that had, I don't know, was like at least 4 years old. I don't know how long. And we went to Telstra and said, the thing only half works. It's got a normal broadband. It's got 5G broadband, and the 5G like picks and chooses whether it was working or not. And so to get the up-to-date router was going to be $80 or $100 or something. But we could just buy an extender for a router for maybe $70, and you get the router for free. I'm like, what? We'll take that package. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So we end up with a new router for the kitchen lounge room and an extender down here right next to where I am. And okay. Sounds good. And it's all been working well. And I thought I saw, oh, where's my mouse? Oh, I thought I saw Les for a second there.
Yes.
Cat got your tongue, Lex.
The button?
I was talking to Lex. He had microphone issues last month, and apparently still right now. So Lex is gonna have to learn sign language. Well, we're all gonna have to learn. We're all gonna have to learn sign language if he starts using it.
Yes. Yeah.
Hey, Geoff.
Hey.
How you doing?
Yeah, not too bad.
Did I don't know if you saw my question about me sending a meeting invite, like whether it translated to the correct time at your end?
Well, did you actually send me one, or
I think it was like the third, something about last details or something.
well, with the code that I showed you, the code that I had last week, didn't I? Or a few weeks ago?
The one that you put on the forum now, or
No, it was because I think I showed you doing contacts, reading contact files and appointment files.
yeah, I know you were doing something with the chat GPT with that, weren't you?
Yeah. So, yeah, I just exported out all my appointments and contacts, and yeah, it has a certain way of including the time zone information in it. So I assume that's a standard way of doing it. So yeah, you'd probably be able to use that same technique. It's like included in the, what is it, the DT start and DT end, or
The ones I sent had that DT start, DT end, and it had a time zone / Australia / Perth or something,
yeah.
That sort of information, which hopefully might be in, but like when I did it was either Haskell in the invite at some stage that I was looking at, or when I made a Google Calendar event for right now.
Yeah.
Hang on. I started my phone, but I forgot to tell myself to use. Oh no, I am using it. Okay. All right. I sent myself an email from a Google event, and the ICS file has a special section called time zone. It starts and finishes, and there are all these little and it was like this long. so I deleted it.
Yeah.
I'm like, figure that out later. I have not yet figured it out later, but it seems to work. So
yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
going
time
with the.
zones
Hey,
are
Les has
a
turned
bit of
up.
a
Hello,
pain.
Les.
Good, mate. I'm doing fantastic. Just my camera that's on the blink. I'm not on the blink. Well, but I think I am.
We can see you. We can see you, Les. Were you expecting that? Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, I was, but it came on. It didn't come on to start with, and after a bit of frigging around, it did come on. But any time it'll just go off, and I won't be able to. It might be a problem. I'm running out of memory or something on a thing. When you got 50,000 things loaded, it runs out of space. Funny about that.
Maybe it's like the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Like, don't panic. It's a protective mechanism to. Did you see, Geoff, I posted a thing on Facebook that came from Twitter about someone published a paper about doing LLM stuff, large learning models, but not requiring matrix multiplication. Although from reading a little bit of Reddit and stuff, maybe it's about using the model after it's been trained or something. I'm not 100% sure on that.
Yeah, I did see that. somewhere.
Does that mean anything to you? Because it doesn't really 100% mean anything
Oh, well,
much to me.
I didn't actually read the paper, but well, and of course I don't
No,
know
no,
if I
no.
would have understood it if I had. But hang on. Yeah, and it's just one of the ways they're working on optimizing, yeah, the large language models. There are some people that were saying that they didn't know whether, like, there's other optimizations they can do as well, and whether they can use the same optimizations at the same time or not.
I mean, the one thing I understood about it, they were comparing it to like doing multiplication by taking a log and then adding numbers, and then that's like how the slide rule worked, right?
Slide rules were before my time.
But you had some number, you'd get its you know, basically be working with the power of 10 instead of the actual number itself.
Yeah.
And then if you need to multiply a couple of numbers, it's just adding the powers, which was, I mean, slide rules were before my time as well, but, you know.
They weren't
They
before
were
my time, but you could even do
interesting when I was
exponential
little.
logs with a
Well,
slide rule.
okay. The do you need it, like, is it all contained on the slide rule, or do you need tables to go along with it as well?
Everything's on the slide rule. You just, the only thing it doesn't give you is the position, you know, so you'd work out the number and you think, oh, is that 10 to the 6th or 10 to the minus 6th, you know?
I mean, when
Round off average,
50-50.
you know.
It's just engineering. 50-50 should be fine.
5%, mate. That's the rule for when I did engineering. 5%. If you got within 5%, it's almost perfect.
Yeah, so training these, what, NVIDIA's share prices been rocketing up because everybody needs these enormous banks of GPUs and all the rest of it. But
Have they moved their functionality for their production facility from Taiwan back to America? Did I read something about that? They were going to try and withdraw some of those stuff so they weren't so much at risk, or the rest of the world wasn't so much at risk.
I don't know anything about it other than hearing a few people talking about it on podcasts and stuff, but I think all the biggest, like, silicon production's done in Taiwan, isn't it?
It is indeed, and that's a big problem.
On the forum, at one stage I was posting some stuff about NVIDIA that I just come across. There was about a couple of 1 hour episodes discussing like how it grew from the beginning. And they were talking about a competitor who was doing, you know, your silicon platters are about, I don't know, whatever size, more than a foot across. And then, you know, it ends up becoming a whole bunch of chips. But someone, what's it called? Something on chip on substrate or something or other, something like that, something on substrate, where their plan was basically to use the entire thing, like, in one go, for whatever. I'd have to go find it again, but
I saw some AI one having huge chips.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that there's a lot of the artificial intelligence stuff is now going into multiple chips. on the same substrate, which makes it a bit easier to handle for heat and things like that, rather than a whole bunch of separate chips, and then you got to, you know, solder them together and do all the other stuff. So it just makes it faster and cleaner. But I don't need any details.
It was actually 4 episodes of this.
You know, I worked for Philips at one stage back when the Earth was cooling, and and the Labor government, and we had a diffusion facility in Hendon in South Australia, and the Labor government came in and said, "Oh no, we don't need those facilities here," because the market was flooded at the time. And it was just at the start of the PC revolution. And what happened was we closed the Hendon works down. Everybody disappeared off to Silicon Valley, and here's Australia sitting with its, you know,
thumb in a bum.
Exactly. I wasn't going to say that, but that's it. That's the sentiment.
Yeah, I mean,
had some
there
top
was a
guns in Australia back then. You know, Australia really could have punched well above its weight. We've got this, you know, this. I don't know what it is. We just say, "Oh, we can't do it. We'll have to give it to somebody else to do it because they're cleverer than we are." It's not true.
and when about? Oh, I just want to point out the Lex in the chat was he was acknowledging use of slide rules. Whenabouts was that, Les? What sort of time period?
I graduated in '73, and look here.
Yep. Your sound's going on and off a bit there, Les. Les.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I was trying to handle the button at the same time as the other thing. No, look, they're great. And I still find I use it now. If I'm doing ratios or something, what's the fastest way to do ratios? On a slide rule. You can't, you know, by the time you type everything in, it's too slow. So there's lots of stuff you can use. So, you know, and no batteries. See.
I remember when, like, I don't know the timing, but I kind of understand from growing up, like Northbridge used to be, you know, that little bit north of Perth going in the train, I suppose. And it was all these little, I don't know, slum is a bit strong, but, you know, little townhouse looking situations where I guess the workers were, that worked in town, I suppose. And we used to have, you know, textile industries and make clothing and footwear and all that sort of thing. And was that coming to a close maybe around about when Paul Keating, or a bit before that, Bob Hawke or something or other? I'm not sure.
I think it's when everybody decided that we're going to have, you know, we're all going to be kind of a world workshop, you know, where you go to the cheapest place for getting your stuff done. And that was all great when everybody was friendly, but now that they're all saber rattling, you know, it gets a bit tricky now because you think, well, where do we buy the oil? Oh, we can't buy from Russia anymore. We can't get we may not be able to get the manufacturing done with China, and you know, and they want to take over Taiwan, and it all gets a bit messy.
You were saying about our, like, perception of our, you know, high tech ability or something or other, but we, like, out in, I can't remember where it was, but our what is it? We had the not black hole, gravity wave detector out in a little bit in the bush somewhere here, and other parts of industries you hear, like, you know, medical industries.
Yeah, UWA did all that work. You know, the gravity detector, was amazing stuff. So all done here. You know, when you look around, there's things that have gone overseas. even something simple things like the glide path things for air traffic control. And all that was all invented in Australia. The black box, which is not black, it's orange. The orange box was invented here. So, there's lots of, and, you can go back to the days of the stump jump plow, yeah, that was invented in Australia. All this stuff comes from locals around here because, you know why? It's because we can't get the stuff, so we invent our own. And that's what makes Australians very creative. I went over to America for a mining company, and I got to tell you, we were putting in a car dumper, and we were putting in thyristor controls and all the rest of it out there, and I went over to, because we were thinking, why do they do it this way, And I went over to with a couple of other blokes to go and talk to the blokes at GEC, and we're sitting there and we were talking about one component. And then we started saying, well, what about this component there? And oh, we can't do that one. And they all got up and walked out the room. Another bloke came in. They sat down. So they're very specialised. They're very good at what they do, very specialised. But Australian engineering is way ahead of the rest of places like America and everything, because it's very specialised. You take them out of their comfort zone and they're knackered. Now, I'm not saying that we're better than America. Certainly they're pretty good, but we're not bad. And I don't reckon we should stand back and say, oh, we can't do it, we'll let someone else do it. And who's doing that is government, because how many engineers are in government? 0.
Yes, have a look at Hoffman Engineering at Bassendean. Have a look at their webpage. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah.
Well, luckily, we have a lot of lawyers in government.
Yeah, that's pretty handy, yeah.
I do remember, again, I'm guessing I was teenage years or something. Paul, was it Paul Keating or something? There was like 150% R&D rebate, tax rebate that got cancelled at some stage.
I was doing some work at that stage for a company. We were competing against. You remember that, Frank? All that position control stuff that I was doing. We were doing that here in just locally, and the Germans were doing it, and they were wanting millions of dollars for it. We got it done for almost nothing. And I said, oh, this is pretty good. Let's go and see if we can get some grant money for this. Well, when I talked to them, the stack of paper was, the screen's not big enough to tell you, but that's how the stack of paper was. It was just too hard. So, give it a miss. And they make the jump too hard for local people. That's why the local industry can't take off with it. And there's no decisions made. Even now, like only recently, since the Labor government got in, they kind of set the pace on climate change and things like wind power and all the rest of it. But it's still not defined. No one can really, whack in a whole mob of investment and time and engineering for something that's kind of not got good imprimatur. You could just if the Albanese government disappears, what's going to happen? Where are we going with this? There's no consensus on where we're going, and that's the problem. People don't want to invest money when you're not sure where who's going to be running the show tomorrow.
In the early 1980s.
What was that, Bob?
In the early 80s,
go ahead, Bob.
In the early 80s, we bought a plotter, a Houston Instrument plotter, and it came with a customer list. So we contacted them, and there was no one else doing the work, so we did it for them. And it was all mostly Protel, printed circuit board, artwork, and most of the jobs were done through Jamal Products in Udio. Now, we do a lot of those boards and that. There was a French Telecom, British police system, or the computer system, the communication systems, and it's extensive worldwide. The designers, there are about 200 designers here in Perth, flat out. And in the end, the only trouble was they were banking with Rothwells. And when waffles crashed, they all crashed.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
very sad.
Yeah. Well, look at Wi-Fi. It was CSIRO invention.
Yeah,
It wasn't anywhere. Nobody clever overseas. CSIRO. And the smartest part about that is someone in the CSIRO said, "Let's publish the paper." He said, "Not until we do the copyright." And it's keeping the CSIRO alive for years. But it's run out of copyright now, so.
Well,
So back to locals. Give the locals a go, I reckon.
yes.
I went to a Rust, the Rust language, computer language. There hasn't been very many meetings, but I went to one of those in Perth last year, and there was a company there that's doing laser hip surgery, I think, knee hip surgery. With they're making the machines, and it's I guess the doctor guides it, or it can do it maybe remotely. I didn't get a lot of chance to find out, but that's somehow. No, they started off, they said, in a little shed at UWA, like behind the refectory or something or other, with, I don't know, the morgue underneath them or something. But I don't know, they started getting a bit bigger, or the machines were making their machines was annoying the dead people, or
Yeah, waking the dead.
yeah, waking the dead. Yeah, you got to watch out for that. There's been a few movies about that sort of thing, and yeah, then I guess they moved to like whatever the Subiaco equivalent of a commercial area is. Maybe not Subiaco, but maybe somewhere near QE2. I've just got to. I'll be 1 second. And are you? We don't want to keep you longer, Geoff, than you. If you're ready to start, I don't want to.
Oh, yeah, I can sort of get.
I don't want to rush you, and I don't want to hold you up either. So, but I'll just be about 1 second, and
We'll all go quiet, Geoff, and just listen, mate.
Okay. Well, let's see if I can get this thing started. Am I able to share my screen? Is Scott able to enable it, or do I have to wait for? So is everyone on the forums?
Little green arrow on the bottom.
Yeah, it's got to be enabled first. So I've got to wait for Scott or Paul to enable it for me. Well, yeah. Paul.
Sorry,
back.
I'm back. I'm back.
You
I apologize for going, and I apologize for coming back.
didn't, and you didn't enable screen sharing.
I mean, what do you expect, frankly? Like, what are your expectations? No, don't share my screen.
Security.
Who can share? There we go. Everyone. Okay, there we go. Hopefully that will... Oh, Peter Wright is here. That's good. At least I think so. If you're here, Peter, welcome. Yes. Go for it, Geoff. Go for it.
Okay, you can see my screen.
I can.
Yep.
Yep.
Oh, so I'm sure you're all on the forums already, so yeah, I won't mention much more about that. And
What is it? Has anybody not seen the ADUG forum? Anybody here?
Well, I'm not as familiar as this screen. This is really good. Third-party databases, RTL, yeah, it's good. Yeah. I just get a flow of stuff in the door.
Yeah, you can also receive it as just emails if you choose. So
yeah.
I guess quite a few people stick to that, maybe.
Anyway,
Oh, can we? Sorry, Geoff.
Yep.
Can I just before you start, can I just point out? Would you mind going to the competition for the World Delphi Summit part?
Yeah.
Thank you. Should be under latest, I guess. Sorry to interrupt your flow. Okay, so all those speakers there. There's the 13th and the 14th. I forgot to check exactly how their time turns into our time, but I guess it's probably like 12 hours out or thereabouts. If you could just scroll down a bit, Geoff. They've got 2 days worth of like 3 different speaking tracks. All these people, all on Delphi. It's
Test 1 2 3. Test 1 2 3.
Hey Peter, we can
Hi.
hear. Hello.
Okay. Finally got this thing working. Okay, carry on.
Well, maybe you could serve as an advisor to Lex, because he's having Microsoft microphone issues. Yes, so this whole thing is in person in the Netherlands, but they have a well hidden, option to get online tickets, and they're like 100 and 200 euros, 150, 180. I don't know. It's a lot. It's like $300. But we have one free online ticket, and I just set I thought fairly simple question. Scroll down a little, please. So the shortest possible compilable program. Just a little bit more, please, Geoff. So there's there right there in the code there. That's your think most basic console program, but
That's
it can be
way long.
shorter, I assure you. I assure you. And if you're interested in, winning this ticket that we're getting no responses for whatever reason, to play around with it and get back to me before like tomorrow lunchtime or something or other. And
how many have
at
we
this
got
stage,
so
you can
far?
just well, I put up the next post is like a, what do you call it? Hourglass running out, and said that you got a day if you're interested. And Malcolm Groves got to me. He figured it out, but did not want the, he's going there online, I guess. Anyway, he didn't want the prize. He just was checking that was the correct answer. And I don't know if you saw that Vincent Parrott from Final Builder, and who came and talked over here when we had the symposium over here, he's going there in person and got a call at like 5:30 in the morning to say your flight to Europe's been cancelled. So he had to scramble. I'm not sure if he was flying to Melbourne or Sydney anyway. I guess maybe he was. That one was running late, and then he had to pay through the nose to get Cathay Pacific to take him there or something or other, but he wasn't best pleased. But anyway, so there's this opportunity for the rest of, like, till tomorrow sometime, if you have any interest in winning the ticket.
Just one question: why is it $300? Is it we paying some of these high-paid help people to come on or something of it? Are they?
I don't know the details, but
Well, there's lots of
yeah,
speakers, but
and I guess they're paying. It must be a pretty premium sort of venue. I think they're right next to I don't know, sort of like a big hotel in a technology museum or something. But I mean, it's just good to see, I guess, but a big Delphi event. I've seen some other ones,
and we're probably pretty cheap.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're super. Trying to think of the amusing word. We're like the no name variety, the home brand. We're home brand. We're DIY. We're cheap and friendly, but that's okay.
Well, because we don't have the high costs of flying people in these days. Yeah, we don't need to charge as much as we did in the past.
But in Europe, most of those, most of the fellas, you can get there by high-speed train or something.
Yeah,
costs are not all that dear. It seems a lot for for a conference like that mostly is online, or could be online. It'll be great to see,
I mean,
but gee, not at that cost, I think.
The in-person tickets are a bit more, but you'd expect online to be. I think they're just trying to. I mean, I don't think if you go to the website, you can even find the online. I could be wrong. I think Geoff might have corrected me before. I'm not sure, but like I only have the link to the online tickets is because they had like a early bird registration sometime back in like March or April or something on LinkedIn, and I posted the link back then. And anyway, whatever. There. Good luck to them. I hope it goes well. So anyway, that was I interrupted Geoff showing you the forum.
Yeah.
So sorry, Geoff. Please continue.
And then we've got our YouTube channel that's got quite a few presentations. Yeah, so if you subscribe to that, you'll get updates when I upload some new presentations and stuff. Yeah, I've got a few that I've got to upload, including the last symposium. Yeah, so then what am I up to? So I just thought I'd mention some of my previous ADUG presentations over the years. Yeah, if you want to know anything about those, they're sort of my interests. Yeah, barcodes, face detection. I wrote a program for a photographer and creating their school photos, basically. I created some code to edit LibreOffice document formats.
And it's all up on YouTube.
Well, these early ones, it's before we recorded the session, so yeah, I'd have to do them again if you wanted to see them. I did a presentation on security, a little bit similar to if you saw Alistair's presentation at the symposium. Covered some of the those topics, and well, some different ones. I did one on getting a printed circuit board manufactured. A little bit far off the Delphi topic, but people were still interested.
Yeah, it's all interesting stuff, and it's a pity it's not on YouTube because
Yeah.
it's terrific stuff.
Yeah, that one maybe I'll have to have a look, or I might actually have a recording of it at least. Project Magician. Does anyone use Project Magician? Does anyone know what it is?
Projects, does that count?
It's a project it's a program that sort of integrates with Delphi, and it basically edits the dproj file, and you can either like strip out unused parts of it, and it also sorts it in a consistent order, so that when you're committing it to a version control, it helps limit the changes. So yeah, that can be handy. Yeah, I've got OAuth 2 authentication for Gmail and Outlook Mail and Microsoft Mail. I've got a simple project that shows how to do that. And I've got another project that demonstrates OAuth 2 authentication for QuickBooks Online. And last year I did a ChatGPT session at the symposium, and I think it was November or December last year. I did one on social media REST APIs to create posts and edit posts. So,
I don't remember that one, Geoff. What's happened to me? Did I miss a meeting?
Geoff, got one on. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you normally come, so I don't know why. Were you asleep or something?
I mean, I may have been. Yeah, I mean, the brain's not always. It's 50% speed at best. So you know. Were you going to say something, Les?
Yeah, I was just interested in that one that you were talking about, the connections to QuickBooks. I was just wondering if it's a kind of generic enough to include Xero and MyOb and that sort of stuff. Is that the sort of thing, or were you just remotely generating invoices? What about transferring costs? You know, if you've got a program and you're collecting all sorts of upfront financial stuff.
Yeah.
What I found is that, you know, when you if you have to go and create all the rest of it, for tax purposes, it's all too hard. It's better if you could just dump it into one of these programs.
Yeah.
And then it goes out of your system and into the other one. So the accountants, much of the stuff that you do in a lot of the project management software is up front, and you collect all your costs there, but the accountants don't know until 3 months after it's happened.
Yeah.
It's all history. You can't do anything with it. But if you could keep that in your system, and then when you get to the actual commitment, it goes then from there into the QuickBooks or whatever it is, and then from there on, it's tracked by the more traditional accounting software, and you can sort of that can be the cutoff point for you.
Yeah, well, it was fairly basic. Like I was sort of reading some inputs, like basically the program read another file and then fed it into QuickBooks Online, and then like so that then with the banking information I could link the transactions together, and I haven't done anything with Xero, but I think there is some other Delphi projects on GitHub that does that stuff. Yeah, from memory, Xero was a bit like I was sort of having to play with sort of that sort of thing, and Xero has a complicated logging authentication thing, so I think I got stuck there with Xero, and like the accounting stuff, like depending on what you need, like because they have probably a dozen or 24 tables that you can edit, so it's a fairly big job to expose the whole API, but I sort of implement what I need.
I agree with you. I think that is a horrible thing. But if you could write an interface that would link to all of these things, that would be a fabulous program, and worth. And I reckon it's something that is worthwhile marketing. You could probably. It might be a subscription type program that you sell. That you sell as part of your stuff.
Yeah, well, I think N Software had some connectors for a while. I don't know. I thought I heard that they discontinued them for Delphi though, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's the biggest problem, isn't it? If it's not yours, then you're dependent on somebody else sort of keeping it up.
Yeah, and they were just they were a binary package. They didn't come with source code.
Build a source, no.
Yeah. And maybe TMS, I don't know, they have a cloud package, and there may be some stuff in there, but I don't know. I'd have to have a look.
I was saying I don't remember the social media talk, but I remember you talking about Project Magician and the PCB thing. So
yeah.
It raised a question that, so if you're talking about security in 2016, do you remember what, like, it must be pretty different over 8 years, do you reckon, or is it much the same essentially?
Well, there's probably some different things. Like I did a thing on SQL injection, and because I was working at a school back then, and they had a library system, and they just converted to the developer of the system had just converted to a Windows GUI app after having it as a sort of a console sort of app. And they were using, they'd changed from like I don't know what sort of, it was probably a custom file format to using, what is it, SQLite, an SQLite database. And I discovered that it suffered from SQL injection problems, and I worked out that I could delete all the books in the library database, or all the students in the library database. And yeah, so and I eventually got email in to the developer, and they, as soon as they realized what the problem was, they fixed it up quick. So one of their problems was that all their statements should have only had been able to do one statement at a time, but it allowed multiple statements, and that he'd assumed it could only do one. So anyway, and yeah, what else was there?
Was there anyone at the school named Little Bobby Tables?
Yeah,
or XKCD for that matter.
Yeah, I've seen that meme. Yeah. So, and yeah, I think I did stuff on certificates and stuff like that. A lot of that with certificates, I'd use Let's Encrypt these days. There's on Windows, there's a program called WinAcme. You can get it at winacme.com, and that's you can install it on a server, and it'll manage the certificates in IIS for you. And then on Linux, there's like certbot, can install certificates in Apache and some of the other apps. So I thought do some of the things that we can talk about tonight. So obviously it's mostly sort of on AI and related topics, using AI and stuff. So yeah, I've got about the ICS calendar format and the contact format files, creating those using ChatGPT, creating music using AI, and getting time into ChatGPT, and yeah, some games that I've created, and we might be able to see if we can write another one while we're here tonight. We'll see how it goes anyway. So I might just demo some of the games. So here's one. It's a little Tetris.
And how much like programming did you do on, to get this result?
It was mostly done like it was done with a series of ChatGPT prompts for the most part. I did do a little bit of manual programming for one or two little things. The colors of these shapes was not because it's basically selecting random colors, and it was having trouble because it was selecting colors that were too dark against the black. So I basically, just in ChatGPT, I asked it to create a function that would only allow, colors or bright colors. So it's still, and then I just put it in manually instead of getting the code to automatically insert it. So that's one of them.
If you want to tie this feedback loop around even further, you get it to then play the game.
Yeah, well, I was actually thinking about that, and here's another game, Connect 4. I didn't spend too much time on this one, so there's probably, yeah, you can see there's a bit of an issue there, but so
3 moves in, it's unwinnable.
yeah, so that's another one that we created with it. And the one that I started off with, Snake. So I actually started off with this one because some of the YouTube channels that I watch, one of the tests of, they go and test a whole heap of different language models, AI language models, and one of the things they test is writing Snake in Python, and yeah, so it yeah, a lot of them can write the game, others can't, and some do a really good Snake game, and others do a okay Snake game, and yeah, so I thought I'd try and make it so that I could write that in Delphi.
What's the best quality, out of these generated games? Like, does it still look kind of 1980s Pong game, or is it?
Actually, that was because I was trying to think of what game it could do. Maybe Pong or Memory or something like that. Yeah, so those 3 games, I think they're under 1,000 lines of code each. Yeah, it's as it gets longer, issues start popping up that get a bit painful. It's easier just to copy and paste eventually.
They're not alpha shading some graphics in and out and design it. Well, I mean, maybe they'll design the music for it. I don't know.
Yeah, well, and
you'll
yeah,
tell
there's
us
that. Like, probably I could go back and edit those games as well, and because like Tetris doesn't have levels in it and it doesn't have audio. I found on YouTube like the Game Boy Tetris music, and I was thinking, oh, I could add that into it, and yeah. So, but I thought, then it's probably already pushing it with Tetris, because I've heard that the people that created Tetris like suing people over it.
Oh.
So
yeah, watch out for the kookaburra sinks in the old oak tree, otherwise you'll get yourself sort of wiped out financially.
yeah, so yeah, that's some of what you can do.
Yeah.
So I'll try. I'll do just a quick demo with the first one. Oh, AI music.
Yeah.
To start with, this is called Udio, and what you can do is basically create AI music. So we could do what I might do first though, I might actually I'll just do it here. Write a song about a programmer who stays up all night programming.
I thought you were going to say a programmer who doesn't get any attention from the good-looking receptionist where he works.
And what style should we make it in?
I mean, the blues.
Has to be rumba or calypso, doesn't it?
We call it blues experimental. Something like that. I don't know how it'll go there, but so, and then I've just got it auto generated here because we're just gonna be fairly quickly, but you can write your own lyrics, put your own lyrics in there. So I've fed ChatGPT lyrics into it, and then you hit create, and so it starts going off now, and it takes a minute or so.
So how do you seed the thing? Is that it just goes off and does its own thing randomly, or
Yeah.
Some...
Yeah, well, it's basically that what I've told it up the top there. Midnight Coders, it's called it.
I mean, have other people seen the? I can't remember the website, but where the instead of creating a song, they're creating a piece of video from roughly about the same amount of text prompt. What's that website?
OpenAI has one. It's Sora.
Sora. Right.
Yeah, it's not publicly available yet. So here we go. So it gives you two different versions. So I haven't heard anything what these are yet. So let's have a listen.
With code that's flowing, it's just past due. Lines of logic, I'm deep in blue. I'm a fool to chase you, such a fool to trace you, to craft a world from lines unseen. Tee up and scheme, all night I lean.
And here's
From
the
my
second
screen, I am typing lines of code in the moonlight. Tell me, how long will it be to crack the mystery? Will it produce the dawn or endless nights of bebop? Or a solution covered with all my dreams?
Yeah, so that's what you can do. So I wonder if I can, I'll see if I can find my one that I created about me.
Geoff showed me this after the last committee meeting, and when he said AI generated music, I just expected music, not voice. And then they had what was it? A Broadway musical version of Dune about Paul Atreides and the Sandworms. That was hilarious, just hilarious.
So this is, I think this is the file.
In the heart part of the code where the logic flows. Geoffrey Smith's fingers dance, the story unfolds. Lines like poetry in Delphi's embrace, building bridges between AI and the human race. Oh, Geoffrey, with each line you compose from the digital depths, a new creation arose. Voice to text and vision so clear in a world of code. You bring ideas near.
Yeah, anyway, so that's
Nero needs you, Geoff. No, that should be right up there in the front of the, as soon as you go onto the website.
so
I
yeah,
think,
it's
I think you should develop a. I think you should develop a dance for that.
so I used ChatGPT to create the words in that, and it basically I just told it to look me up on the internet and basically find the Geoffrey Smith with related to Delphi, and so it found that I'd presented at the last symposium on AI and stuff, and so it created the words from that.
Fantastic, man. Fantastic.
Yeah, so it's probably real musicians probably wouldn't be that impressed by it, but
But
people,
you know, if you had real musicians could get interested if you could just have a seed thing there, or like I had we look back at the old composers from the old days.
yeah,
They had as a kind of a riff that they use, and they kind of all sorts of complications around that riff to actually compose the music. I'm not sort of trying to dumb it down too much, but you know what I mean?
yeah,
It's that theme, and if you had, if the thing could do what that it do here, my, you could be the next Beethoven, mate.
yeah. Well, I'm just using the free version of it, but the paid version, actually you can upload some audio that the song's based off, and so you could do sort of that thing. And so here then you can it's got this extend button, and yeah, so you can basically there's various settings here that you can adjust to customize things, and so you can just keep, each time you do it, it extends it by 30 seconds, or I think up to 2 minutes, and yeah, so you can do it that way. Yeah, so and then yeah, because you're picking it out, you can choose the ones that you like the sound of.
I think you should have compulsorily started your presentation with that audio intro. But more seriously, like, because Geoff already explained to me, I guess, where he's going about getting the AI to program and then it coming back to him for a compilation, and then going, there's like a circular feedback loop there, sort of thing, with some human intervention, right? I mean, you could sort of see the same thing here with the music, couldn't you? Like,
Yeah,
if it generates something and then someone's a musician and they do something with it and then send it back, and they could kind of almost be like working with someone.
yeah.
Is this kind of got any commercial value? Or you're just playing around with it?
Well, you can subscribe to it, so there's
Oh, mate, that's the way to do it. Yeah, good on you.
I think less means commercial value for you, Geoff.
well, I'm just playing around with it. I'm no real musician. I'm just showing off AI to people.
Yeah. Pretty clever, mate. Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, so that's that one. So the way this that I hook into ChatGPT, I'll just move this across. So ChatGPT has, I'm on a paid plan. So they cost like $20 US a month. And there's these thing called GPTs. And basically, so what you can do, you can go create, and you can basically give it ChatGPT some instructions to make instead of ChatGPT being like generic, you can give it specific instructions. So like a specific task, and then you can upload files to it, and it's got capabilities to for web browsing, image generation, and the code interpreter and data analysis. So the code interpreter is basically, it makes it so that ChatGPT can generate Python code and then run it. So what it's often used for is, like, you can upload like a spreadsheet or something like that and tell it to create like a graph of the data or something like that. And yeah, so it can go away, write a Python script to take that code, and then it'll spit out an image of the data. And potentially, like, it could just look at the data and it could decide, you know, what sort of graph it is, and, you know, based on what the data is. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. And so, and then right down the bottom here, there's this create new action. So what that does, you can put in an open API schema here. So one of the other things I've been playing around with a fair bit is, well, it was originally Swagger. I think that's the wrong address. Lucky it. Swagger.io. So Swagger is basically a API, REST API description language. So the original version was Swagger version 2. Yeah, and then they've gradually improved it to the point where it's now, the latest standard is Swagger Open API 3.1. They have things are slightly different ordering and moved around a little bit, and they've improved the standard a bit. Yeah, and you often see websites that have like a somewhere where you can test out REST APIs and stuff like that. Or that's basically, or usually taking like a Swagger file, and there's some JavaScript and HTML that can sort of generate that site from the Swagger file. So the other thing too is Open API documentation. It can be a JSON format like that, or it can be a YAML format like that. Both styles are supported. So one of the projects that I've kind of worked on too is basically taking a Swagger file and generating Delphi code from it. And yeah, so yeah, that's one of the projects I've worked on in the past. Now we'll go back to ChatGPT. So, and then I'll go and give you a look at a simple example, or hopefully. So I've just called it personal environment, and this one I've basically made it so that it can get the time, and it can also get and set alarms. That's what this one does. So I'll just show you the this is the Open API documentation for that. So basically that's the documentation to get the current time. So you can see it's got a URL there for the /API/current time, and it's got it returns the current time in ISO 8601 format, which is basically this format down here, and it returns it in a JSON object there, basically that description there, and with a 200 response. So and you can see here's getting an alarm or list of alarms. I think it is. Yeah, it's got an array there and a list of alarms. You've got a post request that's to create an alarm. It takes an alarm object. You've got the responses there. And then you can update an alarm. And it takes you can see here the squiggly brackets there. There's basically a parameter that can be replaced. And it takes a alarm update object. And yeah, so, and then there's a delete alarm, which takes the ID. So, and the objects are basically defined up here. So you can see it's got a ID, a time, and a description. And the alarm update's just got a time and a description, but it requires the time and the description. So that's yeah, for those APIs. So then I'll bring my so I've just called this project Action, and it's got so that GPT is handled by this file here. So it's got the different endpoints. This is using the Delphi MVC framework. So you can create a controller and give it functions for the different URLs. So I'll show you the current time, which is the simplest one. So clean it up a bit. So it's basically creating the time object and then putting in the current time there and then sending it back out. So if we run it, And so this is a little project here. And I'll just do, so I'll just show you, this is in the normal ChatGPT, what is the current time? So it can't tell you. So if I go into this personal environment where I've set up that action, what is the current time? So it tells me it's 9:25 over here. And so I can then, from that, I can go, what is the time in Perth? So it's 7:25 over there, I take it. And I could say, what is the time in London?
Nice.
So yeah, so you can do things like that. And so I'll just show you a thing in Windows 10. So this is a built-in clock app. So if you select the world clock, I've added in various times around the world, and it shows you what time different places are. So I didn't include London, so well, it's got 12:27 there. So and it said, yeah, so it's got 12:25. So it's been a few minutes since I did that. So you can see it gives you the right time because it knows about time zones. So even without, if it didn't have the like, because it knows the time, it's more useful. But you could probably ask it questions. You know, what is the time in London when it is 9 AM on the 12th of June in Perth? So it can do things like that. That's just ChatGPT. I think that's so I'm just checking. That looks right. Yeah,
Oh,
so
yeah, the numbers are good.
yeah. So and then I've got list alarms. So this is talking to my computer again here. And it'll come back in a sec.
My connection fell out for a bit when you just were starting this section. Did you already cover what NGroq is? Like,
I'll cover that in a sec.
Right. Sorry, I was just I was like, what's going on?
Yeah, so it's got a couple of alarms there. So what I can do too, though, I got my phone here, and I've got the ChatGPT app with the personal environment. And so what I can do is go, can you set an alarm for business meeting at 2 p.m. tomorrow?
It wants to.
Is that a web page, an app from them, or an app you created, Geoff?
I've set an alarm for your business meeting at 2 p.m. tomorrow. Is there anything else you need help with?
So that's the OpenAI's app, but it's I've selected the personal environment. So now if I go list alarms, and it should have that didn't show up. Okay, we'll have a look at so to get it to talk to my laptop, I'm using a service called NGroq.
Yeah,
So
sorry,
it's just,
I'll have to let me go. Something. Well, okay, yeah, yeah. So, bye, bye, bye. Bye.
so this is what it basically is like a reverse proxy, and it makes it so that I can just put in a URL into ChatGPT, and then I have an app running on my computer, and it connects to my that app that I created here. I don't have to use this NGroq. I could just port forward, but it just makes it easier for like if you're taking like, because I'm on a laptop. If I take this around, I can just run this, and whatever network I'm on, the requests will come back to my computer. And one of the other big benefits is that you get the requests on a website that you can look at. So I can look here and I can see it's sent what I asked it to there. And I can then have a look at the response, and supposedly it's created it. So I'm just storing the alarms in an Access database. Okay, so it actually did work. So I'll try and it didn't.
Maybe with the Zoom going, you think?
What's happened is it hasn't sent the request off again. So if I do get a current list of alarms, so it's making the request there. It's obviously got the time wrong though. 4 a.m. I can't remember what time I told it. Actually, I can have a look because this is basically that conversation I had with my phone.
But +10 is correct, right? That's you guys?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm not quite sure why it's done 4 a.m. there though. Anyway, obviously some of this stuff, time zone stuff, and is a bit complicated sometimes. You got to test things fairly well. Yeah, so that's like getting the time and setting alarms and stuff. That's like a really basic thing though. Yeah, so
I think that's UTC.
yeah, it's probably
I think it's 4 a.m. UTC.
Yeah, and it's put a time zone on it when it shouldn't have, or something like that.
Yeah, 'cause I just looked up what it was. It's lunchtime in Perth, so that'd be 2 o'clock for you. So
Yeah, so what I've done with all these other methods here, I basically have a data module that I handle all the alarm info stuff on, and I just yeah, so the data module has the actual database connection and methods to handle those requests. So, and they're just doing simple SQL statements. So fairly simple. Yeah, so that's sort of, and with Delphi MVC framework, these are like data objects, and you can see basically it's what you store the requests and responses in, and it's got this MVC name as, and that's basically what, because this gets turned into JSON, and these names here are how it's actually specified in the JSON. So you can see this is a capital and this is lowercase. Yeah, so it handles that, and that's all handled by it's got a serializer, and this Swagger Commons handles all that.
So this is essentially your service or program that you run is an API that the
GPT
can access.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so yeah, you could create all sorts of different APIs. Like another one which it could have done is like weather. So you could query the Bureau of Meteorology and get back a response about the current weather information. And so then I could, on that app that I showed you there, I could go, you know, what's the weather like for the next 7 days in Bendigo, and it could go off and contact the Bureau of Meteorology, come back with a the up-to-date info, and then tell me, talk it back to me. So yeah.
And would that involve your desktop at the same time, or
yeah,
it'd running somewhere?
It'd well, it doesn't have like those like you could set up a server like anywhere. It's just got to be accessible on the internet.
Right.
And like you have that open API documentation to make it work, describing it to ChatGPT.
And it could be in a cloud instance, maybe?
Yeah. So that's sort of demoing using they're called actions in GPTs. And so the next part is the actual where the magic happens for making it so that it can write Delphi code, or make Delphi projects and stuff. So this is a separate controller for that compared to the, so I've got the personal controller and the, I've called it project controller. So it's got list projects, create project, list project files, add dproj file, check project for problems, add project file, get project file, update project file, and I'll just leave that one out for the moment. Compile and compile project. So yeah, through all those methods, it can create files on my computer. So I'll just, on my computer, it basically creates projects in this, like a project is basically a directory in this projects folder. You can see I've had a few goes at creating Snake. And so, yeah, so what I'll do now is I will show you some basics of that working. So when I find the, so if I go to Delphi Builder, I've called it. So I can do list current projects.
And these
So
are
you
all
can
patterns of Snake, are they? And
yeah, well, I was trying to get it testing out the program and stuff. So there are multiple goes at getting it to work. So you can see here, basically it matches. You can see it matches what's it's returned what's matched here. So yeah, what you can do, So I guess what we can do now is have a go at creating a game. So what game do you think we could create? Or a little project?
I don't know. Yeah.
Tic-tac-toe?
Okay. That's a pretty simple one.
Thumb wrestling, but I don't know how you do that.
So create the game.
There's always I don't know. The first computer game I ever came across was at my mum's work. She worked for the Australian Postal Insurance API, Australian Postal Insurance Company, and they had a computer room.
Yeah.
With the terminals and the glassed-in section. And I was there after school, and they had some games on it, and I ended up being allowed in there. And the one where you got to pick up 3 matches, and then the computer picks up some, and somebody has to pick up the last match. I can't remember what it's called.
I was just thinking, what was it? The game I was thinking of.
Texas Hold'em.
Well, what we could do is some simple game ideas I would create.
Frogger.
PONG, that's what I was thinking of. So this is what we can do. So create the project PONG.
And all this stuff is coming down to your local machine.
It will eventually. It's just creating it on the local machine at the moment. So there's the form. So it's got, I'll upload the files, project files now. I'm just waiting for it to mess up.
Excellent. I'm going to be away 1 second.
So it's gone and done a static code analysis on the code already.
Yeah.
And it's updating the code.
Streamline the car, crikey. Amazing. So what was it doing there? You told it to build this game
Yeah.
based on a kind of how does it know what Pong or whatever game you called it? Is there some sort of outline for that? Is there some sort of
It would just know what, like, Pong is like a well-known computer
so
game.
it goes off and finds a copy of Pong and looks
Yeah.
at yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
So you can see here the files that it's created here.
Yeah. Hmm. Hmm.
I'm just trying to work. It's might be going around in circles at the moment, so I'm just going to try and work out what's going on. So it's not sending, it needs to send a DPR file. So what's it? So what I can go here is you need to send the DPR file name to the compile command.
You triggered the compilation, or do you use a command line compiler, Geoff?
I'm just calling the command line compiler. So oh, no wonder I've got a breakpoint on the compile command. That was a bit. So we'll just I'm just going to reload that and so it's got a compilation error.
Does that mean we programs are safe for another 2 weeks?
Well, it's already working on fixing that up.
So your answer is no then.
Like that, the bloke who program was, he was playing chess against the program, and the program lost a couple of times, and after that, he never won.
Yeah, well, chess and AI, they end up getting it to play against itself over and over again, and it starts to learn, you know, how to play the game and how to win.
It's frightening, isn't it, when you think about the potential of a thing?
Okay, so this is actually a problem that I haven't been able to quite work or fix up yet. But the solution I have for the time being is basically just opening the project in the IDE once, and so here's what so it actually compiled, but I'll just tell it try compiling again. So there you go. So it says it's, so let's see if it works.
You're doing the paddles, are you?
Yeah.
Do you think it would be difficult for it to do one side of this? Maybe it could control one of the paddles and.
So,
It's good. You still got the old slice shot.
yeah.
which was an important component in PONG back in the day.
Yeah, so as you can see, like you saw what I did, all the inputs I did to it. There's probably like scoring and stuff like that. I never really played Pong, so I don't know what the scoring is, but yeah, so one of the things it did, Paul, while you're away, is it actually ran so somewhere here. It has the problem compiling the code, and then it runs a static code analysis on it, and then it's saying that the static code analysis recommends starting the variables with F, and so it goes and updates them with F compared to the previous code here where it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm using Fix Insight there for that.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it can pick up problems and
so that's another action it's running, or it's running on your computer and then communicating back the result.
Yeah, so I'll just show you how the compile and the so here's the compile project.
With a bit of work, you can tell it, I've got a big project due in the morning. I need my sleep. So if you could just work on it for me.
It's probably a little bit beyond it at this stage, I think. So
I've got a big game of Pong due at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Yeah, so it creates a data module, and it's got this function here that it calls. So we'll just go to that, and I'm using tdos command. That's available in Gedit, and I'll put the current directory and put in the command line for the command line compiler and the project file name, and then execute it. And then yeah, DOS command adds the lines of the output of the compiler into this output lines object, string list. And then you can see back here, it puts all those lines into the response object, which is just got, yeah, it's got console output there. So yeah, ChatGPT will know that that's the output of the command, and it can just read through it, interpret it how it sees fit. That's good. You know, errors have got line numbers and stuff like that, so it can then, using the code it's already got in its memory, it can look that up and find the problem and fix it. So Fix Insight, basically the same thing. It's got a command line. I've got it outputting XML, and it takes a project file name, and it does basically the same thing. So where was it? The controller. So where is it? I've got check project for problems. So if there's some stuff that's missing, it will throw an exception that send it back to ChatGPT there. So if there's some missing files, and then if that's okay, it then runs Fix Insight there and does pretty much the similar thing as when it was doing the compiling. Yeah, so that's doing that. So yeah.
You wouldn't want to be starting your career in IT, would you?
Yeah, well, yeah, it's going to be interesting over the near future. It might be, well, I guess it depends how far along AI, like how fast it advances and stuff like that. It, like, if people can keep in control of the AI, I guess they might be able to keep a job, like just get more done and stuff. You know, like machinery and stuff like that. Like farming, for example, like, I think 90% of the population used to work on farms, and now it's like 2% or something like that. So that's probably like the sort of change that it could potentially have, I think.
Well, in the area of engineering, producing engineering drawings and things like that, ready for for computer-aided manufacturing.
Yeah,
perfect for that. Mm.
I think a solution could be to learn C++, because where you've been getting an entire program,
well, it takes a lot more to do anything.
Well, C++ has template, like their version of generics.
Yeah.
Is the more powerful thing called templates.
Yeah.
And templates can be generic on other templates. And it's famous for having, like, I just saw a number earlier today mentioned 38,000 characters of an error message, like one error message. And they're using AI just to distill that down to 1/10 the size to try and figure out what the error message is trying to tell me. So it may not be generating any C++ programs, like any complicated ones anyway, anytime soon.
So there's, I'm just trying it. So we talked about Grok before. Well, then there's this is a bit like ChatGPT. Grok is basically a hardware manufacturer, and they have these chips that speed things up majorly. So, and they've got a few different models here, and so the Llama 3 70 billion model is just, it's almost as good as GPT-4, and so I don't know, right, PONG in Delphi. So that's a classic. So that took 3.2 well, 3.3 milliseconds, or no, 3.3 seconds.
Yep.
And 356 tokens a second. So that's pretty quick. You saw how fast it was compared to ChatGPT there.
I like at the bottom it's claiming 60 frames a second.
Where does it say that?
Right there.
Oh,
I think it's ragging on the GPT. It's like, I see
yeah.
what you did. I can
Yeah, so probably to include DPR and BFM file. So it's created the DFM. That was pretty quick too. Yeah, so part of it is all the limited number of tokens you can put in and out of things. So one of the things I'm looking at going forward is using Delphi AST. If anyone knows what that is. So fix insight. So I'll just show you fix insight. So if you run it, it can scan your file. So there's nothing there because we ran it earlier and
at the moment.
Yeah, there's no issues. But Fix Insight uses Delphi AST as its it's called an abstract syntax tree, and basically it's basically a parser for Delphi code. And what you can do then with the abstract syntax tree is you can make modifications to the tree and or use it to find where different parts of the source code are. So you could, for example, if you wanted to find where the implementation section starts, you could find that in the syntax tree. So, and where a procedure starts and finishes, you could find that in the abstract syntax tree. So what you could do is basically use it so that, say, there's a compiler error on line 69. Well, you could use that to basically feed the whole method to ChatGPT, so that it could have the context of the whole method, and then it could fix up whatever's wrong and then send it back. But yeah, that's working out how to get that all to communicate and stuff like that is a to-do item on the project at this stage. So
Geoff, do you get any sleep at night, mate?
I probably haven't been getting too much lately.
Is that because I put you on the spot?
Yeah, so one of the other things is to use the OpenAI API directly to avoid having, because at the moment when it creates things, there's a ChatGPT version of the file, and then there's a local version of the file. It'd be good if they could be, there's only one version of the file. So having it so that you were not using GPTs would be beneficial. And and there's also a project called what was it?
D-Llama?
Not D-Llama. That project doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, really?
It's so.
Or did that become the new?
Yeah, that became the new project. What was his name?
Jared Davison, or
yeah,
is it Little Big Games?
Yeah, Little Big Games.
He's seems to be willing to come talk to us. I sent him a message about a week ago when you were I knew you were going to do this talk, to say, see if he wants to join in and talk about his side of things. But he said something had changed in one of the APIs or something, and had broken everything, or significant things for him, and he'd only seen like my Discord message,
Tiny
like
Big
yesterday.
Games.
Tiny Big Games. Was that close?
Because I asked him about it, and LM Engine, it's called. It looks, I haven't used it yet, but the project looks like well done, like good documentation, and yeah, some good examples and stuff. So what I'd like to do is integrate that into what I've been working on, and that would
having a local engine means you got less tokens you can transfer, is that right? But more frequency or something?
Well, it's one of the things is it keeps your data more private, because it's not leaving your machine. The drawback probably is the big models need big, expensive hardware.
But it wouldn't be like a 2 billion.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the biggest sort of model you can run, and how much you got to spend to get something that's fast and like good quality output. It's probably a few $1,000s might get you fairly well up there, but it still wouldn't be like GPT-4 probably.
So like someone else has trained a model, right? They put a lot of effort and a lot of data into creating a model, which then is a bit like a blender or something. It's like a black box that you can interact with, and is considerably smaller than all the data that went into creating it in the first place. Is that right?
Yeah, well, the models, they're surprisingly small. Like, they need lots of RAM though, or video RAM in your video card because they all run on the video card. But although I think Llama 3 is 300 gig or something maybe, but there's smaller versions of it. So that's, a significant amount of, human knowledge that you can get out of it. Yeah, I think it's pretty amazing that they're so small for how much
So
you can get out of them.
At some stage, I thought it'd be great if you had something you can interact with that has kind of studied your hard disk, for all your different like programs and PDFs and all the rest of it, and help you find stuff. But that's more of a, like, your hard disk is more of a dynamic, continually changing sort of situation, isn't it?
Yeah, well,
does that fit the large language model like idea, or it's at odds with it?
Well, what they do is they use RAG. I can't remember what that stands for. Let's see if I can. So LLM RAG. Retrieval Augmented Generation. So what you can do, you're using like basically you index all the data using embeddings, and then like when you do like a search, you can type in like natural language. It creates an embedding for your question, and it scans through a vector database of all the embeddings and finds the nearest matches of the embedding, and then it can feed that into a large language model then, and come out with an answer to the question that you asked. So
that's a bit like fine tuning our input into it so that then it can run. Yeah, I'll have to look at that a bit more.
So more or less it's kind of like, you've got a book and it's got a whole heap of topics, and you look up the embedding is a bit like, it's a topic in an index, and so you look up the page that it's that topic's on, and then you've got all the information on the page, and so then the large language model reads the whole page and then summarizes it to answer your question that you actually asked.
Yes, right. That makes sense.
So Microsoft in Windows 11 have been, they've come out with some new AI feature that basically takes screenshots of your screen and uses that to feed into a model to assist you with answering questions and stuff like that. So people are a bit concerned about the privacy implications of that. So I'm possibly, I guess for me it'd probably be where the large language model runs is probably the biggest thing for me, like, because people have search indexes on their computers already, so it's kind of just an advanced version of that really. And maybe most people don't have their screen snapshotted regularly.
They must be buying a lot of hard disks.
So yes, so that they were talking about that being I think 20 to 50 gig or something of people's disks used up on screen snapshots. because yeah, because it can.
Oh,
take,
we've got to keep the snapshots.
yeah. So yeah, so because
Of course
the other thing with the large language models as well is that they can you can give it an image and it'll interpret that. So it can potentially do OCR or interpret what's in a scene, a photo or something like that. So yeah, like you could set it loose on all your photos that you got stored, and it could create an index that that you could search for photos of dogs or something like that, and it'd find all the photos of dogs.
I was quite surprised once because I have Google Photos on my phone. It's Android, and
Yeah,
sometimes I take like panorama photos. When I found out you could stitch photos together, then I like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 overlapping or something, and I use a phone app to knit them together into one picture, and it's like 85% pretty good.
yeah,
But then, like a week or so later, I'll get a notification from Google that like they obviously had some time on their hands, and like, we noticed you took these photos all together, and we've knitted. They've done an even better job of
yeah,
merging the photos together into one. And incidentally, just the other day, I was looking for Google Street View type thing, and then like, of course, you idiot! Like, this is where they got good at merging photos together,
yeah,
because they spent 10 years driving around the entire world photographing it. But at the same time as it uploads, every photo I take goes up to Google Photos knows about, and then I realized that you can search, and I went, okay, typed in like bridge or whatever,
yeah.
and found stuff like that. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, well, I was watching a YouTube video that they had. There's some website that you can upload photos to, and it'll take a guess at where it's located. It's like not you like it may if you upload a photo with the GPS coordinates attached, it probably that probably helps. But it's use it like it can use it to train it more, but for ones that it doesn't have it on, like it'd be able to use like a whole heap of different photos to try and work out where the photos are located, and quite often it gets quite close, anywhere in the world, like say 10 or 15 kilometers of where it is.
Well, the fingerprint
That's not
recognition systems, I suppose, they can do pretty well. So why not photos? I mean, they're just another form of, doesn't care what the digital information is, it just does a comparison.
Yeah.
Frightening world we're moving into.
Yeah, like it'll privacy will be pretty much gone, if it isn't already.
Oh, Jeff Bezos would be sitting right on top of the tree, wouldn't he? Got all our information.
Yeah, so yeah, there's all those like Google and Facebook and what Apple, I guess, and Microsoft, they're all have amassed huge amounts of information on people. And then there's the government
Government, yeah, that's right. You get some crazy guy in, like a friend over in America, and gosh, give him a chance.
I have the feeling the government over in America kind of, or the different departments over in America might carry on their own, regardless of whoever's
Yeah, well,
nominally in charge.
yeah, pretty much. I think they do what they want.
Well, it's top stuff, Geoff. Like,
Sure is, mate.
great demo.
Very clever. Yeah. Good on you, mate. Well done.
And how long, like how these large language models are really only, I mean, in the news, in popular, they're kind of like 1 year old, aren't they?
Well,
I'm sure
ChatGPT
Go ahead.
3.5 came out in, I think it was November 2022. I started playing with it in December 22, and yeah, my first question was, how long is a piece of string? Because I've tried that in all sorts of supposedly clever chat programs and stuff like that, and they always come back with, I don't understand, or something like that, and it was able to come back with a good answer.
And what was that answer?
I think it was something like, can be a variety of lengths or something like that.
Right. Yeah. You can come back with some sort of expression that would allow you to.
I was still playing catch up on a podcast, I guess, a computer related series of these guys chatting with each other, and I think in my head I was going to say 2019, but I'm pretty sure it was 2021. There's one episode where the one guy tells the other guy about CoPilot, and the other guy's like, "Oh yeah, that'll be good." like making fairly reasonable fun of it, as in you're gonna get some wonky computer to write my code for me. Fast forward 3 years.
I've been using CoPilot just to see what it does. It saves you an amazing amount of time. It does the same thing that you do, prowling. If you're trying to find something on some information, you've got to go through all the rubbish to find the good stuff. I think somehow or the other, this thing has already worked out what the rubbish is and what the good stuff is, and so it goes there really fast and gets the information for you. So I think that's it knows its way through the garbage to get to the stuff that really matters. So
yeah.
But Delphi related stuff, or are you
anything,
anything,
on any subject at all. I use it for all sorts of, asking it a question to get something, and it gets the answer. Now, the same answer that you would get if you spent an hour, it gets in about 2 minutes. Just very fast. And I think that's where the real value of this stuff is. It's going to help the thinking process, because I just think back to university days. You wanted to find some research on something, you have to go off to the library, and then you have to go through the card index, and all that, all the horrible stuff. Well, that's all gone now with the internet. It's very fast, but the internet is full of rubbish too. So if you can get this thing trained to reject the rubbish and just go for the stuff that's got value, you've probably solved the problem of the internet congestion, because that's a big problem with it. There's so much junk there. How do you get rid of it? You can't. So you have to find your way around it. So these things really need to be smart about that process.
There's a message there from Lex. I was about to ask you what IDE or editor you're using for that, but Lex just asked, can we get a demo?
Well, I can't give you one now because I'm sort of half asleep now. But I could do. It's just simple stuff. Ask it simple questions and get an answer. I'm just amazed at the things it can do and find.
So just
yeah, I'll forward you a contract.
5 minute session on what it can do next month. All right, Lex, I got you.
So
I mean 5 minute stuff is fantastic, even because it generates a discussion and no problem with that.
I was just going to say this
yeah.
this stuff on the screen here. This was messages that the compiler and the fixing site sent back to ChatGPT.
Yeah.
So you can see it successfully compiled there. It missed the res file there. It's got some missing identifiers there. Yes, some missing identifiers there, and there's a fix insight with the missing F messages. So that's what it used to fix up problems.
Yeah, amazing. Very clever. No, it's a great presentation tonight, Geoff. You really, it's amazing stuff.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm trying. It looks like the demo actually went pretty well for the most part tonight. I've sort of been trying to work on how it handles like much bigger files and stuff like that. Yeah, and it struggles more with that. So that's
just a question of time and resources and stuff. You can see the potential for the thing. It's got fabulous potential. Tell me, which version are you running, and what does it cost to tap into it?
ChatGPT. There's I think it's $20 a month.
Yeah.
Version,
what is it? Version 4? Is it Chat?
It's GPT 4.0 now.
4.0, yeah.
They're just in the next week or two. They're coming out with they've sort of advertised it. I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks ago now. It's going to have a whole lot more voice functionality. So it's got voice. Like at the moment, they have the large language model, and then they have voice to text, and then the large language model. Then they have the text to speech. But what they've done now is they've merged all of them together, and so when they do that, they can feed the extra information in person's voice into the model, like so they can read emotions and stuff like that in the person's voice, and then on the output they can also give the voice emotions on the output, so it can be it could be angry or happy or sad or whisper and things like that. And they've also got vision as well, which is that's not really video, but you're uploading a relatively fast succession of images to it, and it can use that to sort of see the world. So yeah, and what else? There's There's another project. Oh, I was doing some stuff with reading the ICS files. I'm just trying to find that.
Oh, is this for like sorting out schedules and stuff, that sort of thing?
Oh well, it's sort of a building block. I seem to like to write sort of a lot of the building block sort of code.
There's something frozen.
I can't seem to find it. Can't even remember what I called it.
No, good. I wasn't sure if your picture had frozen for a sec there.
So I talked to Paul the other day about one of the other things I've been playing around with is getting I'm being a bit of a data hoarder, looking for all the old Delphi information that's been on the internet and stuff like that. So I've managed to get a hold of the old Delphi news groups, and I downloaded the old Google Plus groups before they disappeared. And yeah, and on Telegram, there's even some Russian Delphi news groups, and because I think the Russians are pretty big on Delphi, and I think they're fairly clever with all that sort of stuff as well. And you can translate the Russian stuff into English. So I'm sort of thinking about the eventually using it as a using like creating a search engine of all the information, using like the embeddings to search through it all and stuff like that. So
You
a
said
lot of it's
Telegram.
what's that?
No, keep going, Geoff.
Yeah, so a lot of it might be a bit out of date and stuff, but there's probably some good stuff in there as well. And
like people will be there saying, "Oh, if you want to think about interfaces, like think about it this way or something," Hopefully, I'm hoping that.
I don't know if it still exists, but there used to be programs before that you could say, well, this is the thing I'm trying to find, and it'll go back, this was years ago before we had all this stuff. It was just a good search engine to find things that were similar to what you were looking for, and then you could, but they seem to have fallen by the wayside now.
Yeah, well, so there is this website for Delphi stuff. Has anyone seen this before?
I have. Geoff showed it to me.
What's it called?
Codenewsfast.com.
Oh,
it's basically Delphi sort of stuff.
That's interesting. It's interesting. We were playing.
So I might just now where's the chat? I just pasted it in the chat window for everyone.
I did search in there and I've seen in other places, and like for example the Delphi magazine, was it called, that for example Malcolm Groves had an article on kind of pushing the envelope on using interfaces or something. In 2005, I was in the Dalia Prasnica, who wrote, has written 3 Delphi books now. They're in like 2000 and whatever, 2, 3, 5, 6, something or other, discussing something. I'm like, I started using Delphi in 2000, and I probably didn't learn a damn thing about it really for like 15 years. That, anything of particular worth, like anything that was outside, I mean Pascal, but making buttons and connect, like putting code in on clicks and stuff like that. So there are people out there who've been like really good for a really long time.
Yeah, so I found some of the chat logs for, I was creating the ICS file decoder. So I started off with just that, and then it started defining things. And it seems to get an interesting way of parsing the file fairly, to begin with, and then explains out how to use it. And then I ask it to, because I was I made a little demo program, and I was reading a file that had all the standard properties in it, and so I was finding out more properties that I wanted it to handle, and so I just told it what I wanted, and then it added them in, and kept, so it's done a whole heap more here than it did previously. Updated the example code, and I wanted to do a bit of refactoring, so it moves some of the parsing into the appointment class from the calendar class.
I'm curious about having bashed my head on this a little bit for a couple of days.
Yeah.
I mean, in the opposite way, I was trying to make the file.
Yeah.
And so I was bumping. So first thing I kind of came into was the UTC, or at least the date format they used. So it's like Y MMDD capital T HHMMSS.
Well, that's ISO 8601 date format.
Okay. I did come across a Delphi ISO something or other, but it was, kind of the same but different because it had like dashes in it. What did you say it is, the format?
ISO 8601.
8601. Okay.
Yeah, so you just tell it
Does the runtime library know about that?
Yeah, it's got functions that'll do that.
Okay.
But I'll see if I can find it though. Because okay, here we go.
Oh, you're right.
The DT start date decoding logic needs improving. Here is an example. So I've just shown it an example of what's in it. So it's got the time zone information there. And so then it creates a parse date time method. And, does all that. So it can be really handy. Like I could have spent, half an hour writing that function, whereas I just spent, a minute. And it.
Yeah, I was stupid. I did it. Actually, if I can just interject there, as far as because you're parsing it, so you're inputting it.
Yeah.
And I was the opposite of parsing, so outputting. Format date time. It was the first time I bumped into format date time that you can use
what are T format settings?
Well, you can put your your Y's and your M's and your D's wherever you want, and you can interchange it with some other characters as long as they're not the ones that's already looking for to substitute, and just give it a date time, and you swish, and like, oh, this because I was trying to do something in a little bit complicated, and then I read a bit of help, and then I was like, oh, I can do this in one line, or maybe it was two because I needed the T in the middle of it. But
yeah, in the early days, that used to be important. If you're writing some project timing code that you wanted to have, you get mixed up sometimes. The users get mixed up between American and English time date sequencing, and that gets you real trouble. Whereas if we use that formatting facility, it kind of takes all that away. You've got day, month in letters, and then the year in something else. So yeah, some really good stuff there to help remove the errors, move the chance of error.
Yeah, so as you can see, this goes on and on. So what I'll do, I'll pasted the link in the chat if you want to have a look at it.
A link that we can see?
Yeah.
Oh.
So where will you put that? You put that up in somewhere up in the cloud, would you? Will you put that in how do we get to see what that's on your machine, is it?
This is on chatgpt.com, but if you look at the chat window, there should be a link so that you can open it up in your web browser.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And you put on OneDrive or something, do you? So
no, ChatGPT has an option to share chat messages.
Wow.
So you make like a thread, or whatever topic is optionally be able to be made public. Is that right?
You just a link.
Oh, each chat thing. So I'll just bring up so you can see here. That's all the different chat sessions I've had for various different things. So you just, because with ChatGPT you just start a new session and it's all independent then.
And so ChatGPT stores that until you're out of space, is it? And you just
well, I don't know that there is a space limit.
oh, sure.
Stop paying your bill, you'll find out.
Yeah, that's probably
It's like buying into Microsoft, you can't afford not to have it now, because if it turns off, you're dead in the water. It takes your email, takes your smiles, takes everything.
Well, I had long time ago. I had an account with Dropbox, so it's like 10 years back or something or other. But and it was filled up with, say back then, 10 gig of files or something or other. But then you drop off and the limit's 1 gig. So I've had 8 years of them sending emails to me saying, your Dropbox is over capacity.
Well, I found the solution with Microsoft. You get a certain limit, and it's a huge limit, and I managed to crash into that limit, and they say, oh, you can buy some more, and so it gives you 3 times the limit. So I don't know what happens when you do that. I'll probably be dead by then.
Yeah, well, they're once they get you on a subscription, it's like easy money for them.
Yeah, look, I'm happy with that. The old system, I mean, the fact that it's on everything, it's on your iPad, it's on your phone, it makes it so much easier.
Yeah. YouTube is like that for me. I can, look at something on the laptop, fall asleep, whatever, go off to, be driving to work. My phone knows exactly where I was up to, that sort of thing.
Yeah. I use crossing devices on YouTube a lot.
And it's so, like, it's immediate. Like, if you went from one to the other, it's like, it's very rare that it, like, doesn't know exactly where you're up to.
Yeah.
Well, one that's like that, if you're doing some research in something and if you're like me, you forget, you think, where the hell did I put that? But if you can have it some sort of classified way, and you can put the link in there, and you can write some notes, and you can just takes, and then when you're out, you think, where was that? That was, and you go to your iPad, and there it is. It's just great, amazing stuff.
And I found that the recommendations that YouTube gives me for other videos to watch are like pretty damn spot on. Like, it's I've heard people complain about it in the past, and I'm like, I don't know what's happening for you guys, but like, this is working for me.
This is a problem with Amazon. Every time I buy a book on Amazon, it gives me 20 other versions of books I didn't know I needed. I can't remember buying a physical book. The other day I won a copy at the thing of a book that was written about memory management in Delphi. I think that's the first physical book I've had in years.
Okay, do you think we're at the end of the topic, Geoff?
Yeah, well,
we're getting late where you are, Geoff. What time is it?
11 over here.
Okay.
He's in Antarctica, so
So these were some chats from that I did in the previous presentation at Melbourne. Like one of the things I find it handy for too is like you've got like something that you want to do and you sort of know like there's some API or something like that that you want to use or something, but you know, you've got to get everything right to make it work and stuff like that. And, you know, it could be like hours to, you know, to get it all set up and working right. Well, ChatGPT, you can quite often just tell it, you know, what you want and it'll spit out, or give you at least a good idea of what you need to do to get things working. So like this T audio recorder, when I did the AI topic last year for the symposium, what was it? I can't remember what I was using to read the inputs, or maybe this was actually what I did, but I basically did use this to create a class so that I could read the audio input from the, so that I could send that off to various voice to text services to get it back. And I was tried a few different things, and I'm trying the play bit first, but then I start working with making it so that I can record, get the audio input, and so I say what I want, and it goes off and creates a class for me. And yeah, so then yeah, it tells me a few things, and I want a few extra bits of functionality, so it adds stuff in for me. And yeah, so I want to be able to select an input device, so it makes it so that can happen. Some better error handling. And then I just paste in the error that comes up when it's going. And so it knows what the error number means, and so it then can fix up the code. So different error, so then it you know, does some more updates. Yeah, so it's I find it handy like that.
So do you find that you have to be very careful about what you ask it? You know, you're going to be very precise about what you ask it to get it.
Well, sometimes like it makes assumptions like pretty majorly. Like I think if you remember, I said I want to create the project PONG, and it basically wrote the game without me asking it to write, you know, make it the game PONG. So sometimes it can make assumptions, and quite often, you know, those assumptions are, you know, exactly what you wanted. But other times, you know, they're not what you wanted, and so you have to go back and, you know, tell it to, you know, have another go at it. And then one of the other things too is If you like with a lot of the REST APIs that I've used to helped it used it to help me write them. You start off with one, and then you basically give it instructions on how to, make it so that it handles the errors properly, and it doesn't leak memory and stuff like that. So it might take a little while, a few goes to get the function correct, but then you go on to the next request that you want, and it remembers all those details that you did before. And so it'll just change the few things that it needs to change, and copy the style that you'd asked it in the previous earlier on.
That's pretty simple. But what if you leave the session and come back again? Does it still remember that? Still has that history? Does it still remember?
So, like as I said, the all those sessions down the side, they're all basically separate sessions. So if you want to go back to one of them, you've just got to continue your session at the end of it, and it'll remember all that stuff previous.
Gotcha. If you had talked about memory leak and everything else, and you start another session, a new one, it won't remember all the stuff you were talking about in the previous session in terms of the parameters, like watch out for memory leak and watch out for various other things.
Well, you might
do that.
It does have a sort of a memory storage now, but like it doesn't use it that much.
Sort of have a parameter preference mechanism that you can kind of say.
Well, see, with that GPT as well, you could put in some extra instructions to make it code in a particular way as well. So
yeah, I suppose when you ask the question, you can have an inbuilt bunch of things that you want it to do, and you just print that and then speak the rest of it, and it's already got that those prerequisites built in.
Yeah, so it does have like a memory that'll go across those chat sessions, but it's just but like you have to basically tell it to save something most of the time. So something like you can do something like store I live in Indigo. Okay, it didn't do it. It should have not doing it for me. It's store in memory. Okay, so there, it's done it now. Oh no, it hasn't.
See, they gave similar sort of answers before as you were doing it, I noticed. But this one, how do you know that this one is really stored where it'll remember it?
There we go. Memory updated. So
if you were to start another session and ask it where you live, it'll know that you live in Bendigo.
Yeah. this is a new session. So it knows I live in Bendigo now. So, so if I go here to settings and personalization, it's got memory here. If I go manage, so yeah, it's just got a few things there. So, but you could store more stuff in it.
And that's a place where you could put, you know, some sort of summary of what you want it to keep check of, like memory leaks and other things. You could just write that in somewhere and say, and call that back when you are starting a new session and say, well, consider these things of it when you're doing whatever you get to do.
Yeah.
Very good, isn't it?
Do you think you could basically give it a style guide for programming?
Yeah, well, you can sort of give it a set of instructions, I think. Yeah, you could like in a single session, you seem to be able to sort of get it to replicate things relatively closely. So I wonder, so if I go here, what is the time where I live? I was hoping that it might be because I think I may have told it.
So if you've got a meeting in Embarcadero tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock their time, this will know what time you'll be able to transfer it to. I know there's software to do that, but it says as an example, it'll know what the local time is for you to, you know, to be up and awake to listen to it.
Yeah.
I'm warming to this stuff. It's pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah, so I've, used it pretty heavily.
I can see why. It's pretty good stuff, yeah.
I used to use Google all the time, but now I often use ChatGPT.
Well, you know, we're talking about CoPilot. This is sort of big brother to CoPilot. You get on it if you're using it at 20. What's it? $20 US? Is it? A month? Yeah, pretty hard to beat.
So, actually, one of the things I got it to do, I could remember a quote from an article I read from a website like 20 years ago. And I could only remember roughly the quote. And so I put it into ChatGPT and it told me the exact quote and who actually said it.
It's really good, isn't it?
Yeah, and it can be handy for like finding out, if you want to know, can't remember what the name of a movie is, but you can sort of remember the plot. You can tell it a bit about the plot, and it'll often help you. Like it might give you a few options.
But is it as good as someone working behind the counter at Blockbuster?
Probably not.
You know, that one, it had the blue cover and the chick and the boat. You mean this one? You're like, you mean this one? Like, yes, that's it.
Yeah, those are video stores were that's a few years ago now.
Yeah,
Calling me old.
I remember talking to a bloke years ago about his video store, and I said, "Gee, what are you doing about trying to make this another thing?" He said, "Oh, that'll never happen. He's gone. I've never heard of him." Video stores are a thing of the past, aren't they?
Yeah.
The guy was in denial about video stores.
He was, yeah, he was in total
What are you
denial.
saying?
Gee, you got to move with the times.
It's funny to think
that's the only constant in life, change.
It's funny to think that Netflix started off as posting DVDs to people.
Well, they actually only stopped doing that, I think, a few years ago.
Did they have? Was it them or Blockbuster that had the like vending machines to hire the movies? I think that might have been Netflix too. I heard.
Probably.
It's not the same. I can remember we're taking the grandkids down to find the movies, and we get the popcorn, and we get the other stuff, and then we come home and can't do that.
Now you just have to
You
scroll.
probably
and
can. It'll probably send it to you by one of the food things, one of the food companies.
Now you have to just scroll through an endless list of things on the screen.
No, I found the answer. What is it, ChatGPT 4? Is it? Give me this and give me that and give me the other and have it here in 5 minutes.
Everything's available online, except now we've got 13 different streaming providers. Netflix
well, at the moment they'll probably disappear pretty quickly or merge.
Yeah.
The only thing you don't have to make sure you don't run out of is money.
Well, well, for a start, but thank you for. My internet connection is unstable. What about my mental state? But anyway, yeah, that was a great presentation. Thank you. And all the discussion around it as well, really good. And only 3.5 hours, so easy peasy. Well, we didn't let you start for half an hour, so that's really only 3.
Oh, thanks, Geoff. That's been terrific. That's been fabulous stuff tonight.
So did you all see my symposium presentation? Last year?
Is that available still? I didn't. I was in and out.
It's on YouTube now.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
I can find
oh, hang on. I've continued to so there's this is code for that presentation, and I've continued to add to it and improve it over that time. So it's all yeah, there's no, originally I had some code that was only in the enterprise version of Delphi, but I've been able to get rid of that now. So there's some of the providers of different things that you can use.
What? Can you explain Hugging Face?
Hugging Face is like a AI community website that they have like server farms and stuff like that you can run stuff on. I think that's, yeah. Like there's a whole heap of models and you know, hundreds really. Oh, actually 710,000.
Oh, just a couple then.
Yeah. Probably
These are facial models, are they? There's some sort of
AI models.
Yeah.
So these are things that have been trained.
Yeah, a lot of them are like they've got a base model and then they fine tune them for using their own data, so they might be better at some tasks or than others.
And they're like open sourced, or I'm not open source.
Some of them are, some aren't.
But they're available for people to use and try out. And
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, so that's Hugging Face.
Do you
and
find anything out of 700?
Then there's Replicate.
Oh, Anthropic, right. Have you done anything with Claude?
A little bit. So this is another AI site that you can run different models on it. So let's see if I So to give you an idea about other things that AI can do. So I'll just move this picture across. So this was a black and white image of my father in 1957. And the AI colorized it.
Wow. I mean, wow.
That RAM there was a 500-pound RAM at the time, which I think in today's money is about 10 grand.
I was going to ask if it was £500 weight or £500 money.
And this is another. This was colorized and had a face, basically an AI that improved a lot of the focus of the faces was a bit out of focus, and so ran the AI on it and it brought them into focus. What was that?
Is this from a black and white version?
Yeah.
Wow.
The colors of the dresses are probably all wrong, but
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah, it's fabulous, isn't it? Yeah, you can see the mistakes in the coat there, you know, where it's kind of tried to keep the coloring, probably follow the degradation of whatever the source was, and
yeah.
that's very clever. Yeah.